Welcome to part 3 of the Argumentative Research Unit at Southern Utah University's English 1010E online course. In previous unit, you worked on developing a problem paper. And in that problem paper, you identified a problem, you explained the negative effects of the problem, and you supported your explanations with reasons and examples from your sources. So here's maybe a visual that represents what you did in that first paper. You identified the problem, and then you identified one or two or three or however many different effects that resulted from that problem. What were the negative impact of that problem on society? So in one of our example papers, we looked at the problem of low water levels in a lake. And in that paper, the author identified 3 negative impacts of low water levels. How is it that low water levels makes life bad for people? And one of them was that there was no recreational boating allowed in the lake because the water levels were too low. Another one was that the water level also made it difficult to transport goods by barges and other boats through the river, so it impacted the economy and business. And lastly, it had an environmental impact. The low water levels caused plants and animals who lived near the beach of the lake to suffer and die. This week, we want to shift now from talking about the negative effects of a problem to going back in time and trying to identify what created the problem in the first place. So we want to summarize the problem and its effects still, but that will be just as an introduction to the paper, maybe the first couple of paragraphs. The main paper is going to focus on identifying and explaining each of the causes of the problem. Where did the problem come from? What created the problem? And again, you'll use sources to support your reasons and examples and explanations of each of these causes. So here's a new way of looking at this new paper that we'll write. On the right there in the red, that's what you did in the first paper. In this new causes paper, you'll still do that part on the right, but you'll do it at the beginning of the paper in the first couple paragraphs. The rest of the paper is going to focus on the left in the blue area, where you take multiple paragraphs to describe each of the causes that created the problem in the first place. So for each of the causes in your paper, you'll want to identify clearly, what is this cause? What is this thing that created the problem in the first place? Explain how that cause created the problem. What is the sequence of events? Or how did it create it? And then you need to evaluate this cause. How serious was this cause in terms of all the other causes at creating this problem? Did it add just a little bit to the problem, or was it the major reason that the problem happened? You'll also want to evaluate the reliability of this information. Sometimes someone thinks that something is a cause to a problem, but after investigation or information from experts, we realize, you know what, this isn't a real major factor in the problem. People believed it to be true, but it's not really true. So that's part of your job here as well. In addition to explaining this cause, you need to look at your sources and find out, should we trust this as a reliable cause of the problem, or is it a misunderstanding? And then explain that to the audience. So again, as with last time, we'll provide some examples of good causes papers and poor causes papers, so you have an idea of where you should be designing your paper and how you should design it so that it will fit expectations. In this unit on argumentative research, we've been developing a variety of different skills. One of these skills is critical thinking, evaluating information and trying to understand relationships between problems and causes and negative effects. Another thing that we've been doing is some research and analysis. So getting sources, reading those sources, and trying to identify the parts of those sources that relate to our research issue or our understanding of this problem. One of the other skills that we haven't talked about as much yet is audience awareness. A good writer understands who the audience is and how the audience is going to be impacted by their writing, and that they write things in a way that makes it easier for their audience to understand. One way to help us develop audience awareness is to get other people to read our writing. So far in this course, the only people who've been reading your writing is maybe a tutor and your teacher. But your classmates haven't been reading your writing as much. And that's something that we want to give you an opportunity to get that feedback from your classmates. So for our first unit, here is a diagram that represents what we did. We had 3 teams in our class, Team A, Team B, and Team C. And for the first 2 weeks of our unit, we wrote a problem paper, and each team wrote about a technology problem related to a different topic. Team A wrote about social media, Team B wrote about online entertainment, and Team C wrote about information sources. As we head into this next section of our research, we're going to change topics. So now Team C for the causes paper is going to write about social media. Team A that was doing social media is going to move and write about online entertainment, and Team B that was doing online entertainment will now write about information sources. What this means is that if I'm in Team C, I no longer worry about information sources. I'm letting other teams worry about that topic. Instead, I'm now going to focus on social media. So I'm going to find a paper, or more than one paper, written by my classmates who were in Team A, and read what they wrote about as the problems and negative effects of social media. And I'm going to use that as one of my source papers to write my causes paper. Then I'll go look at the other articles about social media and use that to help me write the causes paper. So as you can imagine, as we go through this unit, in the future, you're all going to shift topics again as we write our final paper, the solutions paper. And the idea is you'll go back and you'll read articles written by your classmates to help you have a foundation in the new topic. And that will help you, as a writer, get feedback from your classmates who may come to you and say, "Hey, I read your paper. I didn't understand this part. Could you explain it to me?" And you'll also see other ways that your classmates have been able to use to communicate. And you can get good ideas from them, but you can also question them when you have questions about what they described in their paper. So our main goal this week is to create a causes research matrix. This is similar to the problem research matrix that you did 2 weeks ago. The difference is last time we only required you to have 3 sources. This time you're going to need to have at least 4. One of those sources will be a peer's or a classmate's paper. And that classmate's paper is primarily going to provide you background on what the problem is and what the 2 or 3 or 4 negative effects are. Then you're going to find 3 other sources, and there's many sources available to you on Canvas. And you will use those sources to help you better understand the causes, because your classmate probably has not written about the causes. Their focus was on effects. So you'll go back to some of the sources they used. You can find other sources in addition to that and figure out what the different causes are of the problem. So that's your goal for this week. We're not writing the paper yet. We're just doing the research and taking notes so that we'll be ready to write it next week. So just to summarize our plan this week, read your classmates' effects paper on your newly assigned topic, not your old topic. You'll also read at least 3 other sources about the new topic, and you'll take notes on all of this into your research matrix. Once you've created your research matrix and you have notes from all of your sources, then you can submit that through Canvas, and that's your major writing task for the week. As always, if you have any questions, please contact your instructor.